Hello everybody. So in this video I'll be taking a look at an alternate 2024 presidential election if Joe Biden was to remain the nominee. So in this case this was assuming that he did not drop out and he kept on being the Democratic nominee. This is how the election would go. So I'm going to fill out the safe blue states. Overall, Joe Biden would have done slightly worse than Kamala Harris overall. He wouldn't have done that much worse just because of how polarized this nation is overall. If Biden were to remain the nominee, his polling overall was worse than Harris's, but eventually over time Biden would have done slightly better in the polls than he did after he dropped out because like Kamala Harris, for example, wasn't doing too well in the polls to start off with, and then when she became the nominee, she started getting a boost in the polls. So taking a look here, Texas and Florida would have easily been safe red states. Florida could have honestly gone about 15 points in this scenario, and Texas also 15 points if Joe Biden was the nominee. Iowa would have been 15 points as well, while Ohio would be about 13 points. New York, that one would probably still been safe because Harris won New York by about 12 and a half, even though it's possible it could have dipped under 10. But still, I think New York would have gone right at 10 points with Joe Biden as the nominee. Maine second would have been safe red as well if Biden were the nominee. Trump would have done much better in that rural district if Harris was not the Democrat nominee. Now we'll go to the likely states. Start off with Illinois. That one actually got much closer this time based on the Chicago trend in Cook County. Trended 9 points to the right. So that's a decent shift for such a large area. And for a while, before all the results were in, Illinois was actually under 10 points. And then once all the results were finalized, it went just over 10 points for Harris. So Biden would have probably made this state get about 9 points for Donald Trump. He lost it by 9 points, and Joe Biden wins it by 9 points. Colorado actually would have dipped right under 10 as well. Honestly, I thought this state would probably trend towards the left after 2020, but Donald Trump made the state slightly closer this time, but it was still double digits blue. And next, we'll go to the likely Republican states. Arizona would have been likely Republican. Instead of 5.5 points, it would probably have been closer to 7 points for Trump. And Nevada also would have gone likely. It would have been about 5 points for Donald Trump. In this case, Donald Trump would have probably actually won Clark and Washoe County here in this scenario. And North Carolina, this one would have also been likely Republican. As we saw here, the state still trended about 2 points to the right, even with Kamala Harris as the nominee. Joe Biden was still the nominee. He was not very favorable compared to Harris, which they're both not that favorable. They're both unfavorable on election day and Trump. But Biden was worse here, so North Carolina will go on about 5.5 points, and there have been a couple red counties here that were actually blue with Harris. And now we'll go to the lean states. Maine at large, this will be lean Democratic. This state here, I thought it would shift more to the right than what it actually did. State overall did not shift right much at all, just 2 or 3 points. Stayed likely Democratic here. If Biden was the nominee, it would have gone down to lean. Same goes with New Jersey. This state did get closer than what most people expected. On my prediction, I had it just over 10 points, while other people had it closer to 15 or higher. But polls here recently have actually underestimated Republicans overall. Even though Trump led one poll here, that's kind of irrelevant because it was one outlier poll. while the rest of the polls were safe Democratic here. And since it was about 5.5 point win for Harris here, Biden could have made it go down to about 3 points for him, which would have been really close for the state of New Jersey. Virginia also would have dipped down to lean as well. We're going about 2 or 3 points here. Biden here would have decreased his margin in this southern state here. And New Mexico, Joe Biden would have done really bad with Hispanics. Very low turnout in this area here with the white liberals in the Albuquerque area. We'll have actually gone about 4 points for Joe Biden in New Mexico. Now we'll go to the lean Republican. We'll start off with Georgia. This one will probably be about 4 points. Not quite hit the likely margin because the Atlanta area has trended so much to the left here. It would have not gone back to likely like it was in 2016, but it would have been less close than with Harris as the nominee. And Harris was able to get better black turnout in this state than Biden. And going up to the Rust Belt, Pennsylvania, even though Biden was born here, based on how disapproved he was, that would be pretty irrelevant in this state at this time. So Pennsylvania would have gone red by about 3 or 4 points here. Trump wouldn't have done much better if Joe Biden was the nominee in this state, as if like in Michigan, because Biden has a region advantage in Pennsylvania. So the difference here between Biden and Harris wouldn't have been as much as in a state like Michigan or Wisconsin, which both would have gone lean red. Wisconsin would have been about 2.5 points for Donald Trump if Harris remained the nominee, and Michigan would have been about 3.5 points for Donald Trump here. Again, Joe Biden and Harris both did not appeal to the Muslim voters here because they both supported Israel, so they just didn't turn out, and some of them would even voted for Trump. If Biden were the nominee, the turnout from Democrats will be even lower. Now we'll go to the tilt states, starting off with Minnesota. This state would have gone tilt blue. 2016, this state actually went about 1.5% for Hillary Clinton. And then in 2020, the state trended decently to the left, mainly because of the Black Lives Matter protests in the Minneapolis area. So the turnout there was really high. With Joe Biden's disapproval rating here and whole nationwide, this would have been closer. But since that Minneapolis area takes up pretty much the whole state, takes up a large percentage of it, it would be really hard to flip it red. So I still think it would have gone about 1 point for Joe Biden in this scenario. Nebraska's second district as well. I still think Biden would have hang on to it, even though this area would have disapproved of Biden, just like the rest of the nation. This area does not like Donald Trump either overall, because other Republicans are able to win the second district except Donald Trump pretty much. And even though Joe Biden was disapproved here, it still would have gone blue by about 1 or 2 percentage points in this scenario, because Harris won it by about 4.5. It was almost a likely blue, but not quite. So I think this would have gone just under 2 points for Joe Biden. And the last state here, New Hampshire. This one actually would have been really close. I thought it would have been likely blue either way, but it turned out that Harris only won this state by just under 3 percentage points, and Donald Trump didn't even campaign there, which is pretty crazy. New Hampshire sometimes is closer than others. Like in 2016, Donald Trump almost won New Hampshire. It was really close, under a percentage point. And then 2020, it went likely blue for Joe Biden. This time around, if Joe Biden were still the nominee, it would have been really close. I actually think Donald Trump would have been able to narrowly flip this state back to him, even though he did not win it in 2016 or 2020. He would have narrowly won it this time if Joe Biden were still the nominee. So Donald Trump here mainly just improves his margins in many of these states, like North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada. Those go from lean to likely. Well, Arizona was already likely, but it increases percent there. The Rust Belt goes from tilt red to lean red here. And Trump was able to flip New Hampshire here if Joe Biden were the nominee. But many of these states here are just a margin change by slightly. The reason being is because Joe Biden was disapproved, and at the same time when he was the nominee, Harris was also disapproved very similarly. But when Harris became the nominee, then her approval rating got much closer. So thank you everyone for watching this video. Be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe. Let me know what you would have changed. Let me know if you think Trump would have won more states if Joe Biden were the nominee, or if it would have been a very similar performance to Kamala Harris, or for some reason if you think Joe Biden would perform better than Kamala Harris. Just let me know down below in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye.